What up, though? Hola, mi gente. It's your host who in the neighborhood and the streets the most, J Hodge with InYourHood.com. And welcome to another news segment of Hood Sites. And today you already know what we're doing, like we do every day, providing you with information that you may know a little bit about, but more extensively, and most importantly, disrupting the information that you do not know, information that you do not have. And we are also supporting those who don't have the time to seek out information. And we are also supporting those who just choose not to seek out information and they make a choice not to know more. So it's for both. But for the most part, we're keeping you plugged in with information that you need and that you can receive. And not only that, take with you and apply it in your personal life, wherever you see fit. Now, we'll be starting off with today's Insider. And you already know what the theme of the Insider has been. Making sure that you monitoring your pockets, your chips, your bread, your money. Inflation is what's causing a lot of panic in the market, but not only panic in the market, amongst economists and amongst the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is treating inflation like they are looking at ants with a magnifying glass. They're watching it. They're watching it closely. But it's not changing their behavior or their decision making or where they stand on policy, whether they are going to change the monetary policy that they have in place right now, or whether they're going to remain the same. And as of now, they are continuing and have been continuing to remain the same, regardless of what any economists had to say, regardless of what any investors have to say, regardless of what any corporations or businesses have to say about prices rising for them and on them and their supply chain, regardless. Because the Fed see it as temporary, and that's just how they see things. That's how they see it. That's how they see it. That's how that group sees it. And the chairman, Jerome Powell, that's what he believes. But for the most part, that doesn't mean that this is the time for everybody to just spend it all up. You have to save. You have to invest. As an investor, you have to look for new opportunities for the reopening, because there will be a grand reopening. We don't know when. All you can do is let time reveal itself. We had the first quarter of January, February, and March. We had the second quarter of April, May, and June. That's where we are right now. Then you have July, August, and September. Well, by the end of July, we should know what the rest of the outlook of the year is going to be. As far as rising prices everywhere, and even with the interest rates are going to be going towards the end of the year. Whether they would change or not, it's no way to tell. But what's known is that the Federal Reserve is not moving and not shifting. They believe what they believe. Investors believe what they believe, and they have their opinion. And consumers, they have their opinion. And economists, they have their opinion. But all in all, everybody has to protect themselves from the unpredictable environment that we are in that's caused by this COVID-19. Shortages. Will shortages end? Yes. Will it be forever? No. Nothing lasts forever. Recessions don't last forever. Booms don't last forever. Peaks don't last forever. Troughs don't last forever. That's why the graph looks like this all the time. It don't last forever. But you can get a grasp on the amount of time that it will last, because it rarely changes itself. But Nonetheless, we cannot ignore it. It's your pockets. Your pockets is your business. And seeing as you are your business, you have to make sure your business is handled and ran effectively. How you going to make more money? How you going to save money? How you going to invest your money to do better business? It's the same thing. Consumer or investor, it's the same. You impact it the same. Nobody is exempt. But with that being said, today there is and was a meeting, and it's a revision. The Feds met today. ECB had a meeting today to have a revision of what they think at this very moment. Now, at the same time, retail sales have went up. So that's good for retail companies. But that's not so good for retail consumers because prices are up. And as everybody has seen, if you have tried to book anything, any hotel or any homes through Airbnb, Hotwire, Priceline, you should see as a consumer the impacts of inflation. Airbnb prices have went up. Prices are going up. Used car prices have went up. Prices are going up. Gas prices are going up. Prices are going up. So you have to pay attention. It cannot be ignored. That's your money. You work for it. And seeing as you work for it, you have to protect it. But don't give it all away. Now, another insider is the number of jobless claims for this past week and the number of jobless claims for this upcoming week. The number of jobless claims matters. It's not the end all be all, but it's an indicator. It's a measurement of whether there is truly a grand reopening happening or if the economy is still suffering. And so last week numbers compared to this week numbers, again, is going to have an effect on the market. And when I say the market, I mean the stock market. So as an investor, you have to pay attention to that. As a consumer, you should get invested and pay attention to it regardless. Because wages, those numbers have to be paid attention to. Are they rising or are they remaining the same? Because that's going to dictate if people want to go back or not to the jobs they used to have. If the conditions are the same and people were unsatisfied through this pandemic, taste and preferences have changed. People don't want to go into buildings and into cubicles, into offices. But some people want to stay home. But some people, they tired of being at home. They want to get back to the buildings and offices. So that's going to cause a shift in the work environment. You may have flex days going forward, where you do a certain amount of days in the office, certain amount of days at home. They may do a flex schedule. So all that has to be paid attention to because it all affects the dollar. And if you are about your money and you value your money, then you should pay attention to what's happening to and with your money. So today's article is called San Francisco, in today's news segment, is titled San Francisco to reinvest $3.75 million from police budgets into black businesses. A quote says, "We have to invest our resources in a way that lifts up and supports African American small business owners." Continuing. The city of San Francisco has announced a plan to redirect $3.75 million from its police budgets to black-owned businesses. Mayor London Breed made the announcement in a statement Wednesday, May 5th, saying, "Across this country and in our city, we've seen how the black community economic growth and prosperity has historically been disrupted and marginalized." Continuing. "This funding is part of our efforts to undo the harm of generations of disinvestment and economic inequities. As we work to recover and make San Francisco a better place to live, work, and do business, We have to invest our resources in a way that lifts up and supports African American small businesses and small business owners, entrepreneurs, and the entire community, said Breed. And that's the mayor. The initiative will be an investment by the Office of Economic and Workforce Development and is also part of the city's Dream Keeper initiative. Continuing, 17 black serving community organizations will receive funding to provide services and achieve improved economic development outcomes for African American businesses, entrepreneurs, and the African American and black communities in San Francisco. More broadly, investments focus on helping African American small businesses and entrepreneurs in San Francisco start, stabilize, or grow their businesses. And this is a quote by Cheryl Davis, the executive director of the San Francisco Human Rights Commission. This funding represents an investment in the community and addressing the wealth and opportunity gaps created by years of biased policies and approaches. There is tremendous talent and potential that has been stifled by our biased policies and strategies. Through this process, we will see the implementation of creative and innovative programs that have the potential to support and benefit all of San Francisco and not just the black community, she continued. The Dream Keeper initiative was created in 2020 in the wake of the number of George Floyd by former police officer Derek Chauvin in Minneapolis. It is a part of a larger plan to redirect resources from the San Francisco Police Department to support the city's African American community. End of article. Now what we have here is, again, today's new segment titled San Francisco to Reinvest $3.75 million from police budgets into black businesses. Now what we have here is we have to be careful. Because is this a great initiative? Is this a great plan? Yes, only if fully and truly executed. Now, when we talk about defund the police, this provides a strategy to defunding the police because we have a lot of bigots and we have a lot of, I would say, uneducated and misguided individuals who believe that defunding the police is a cruel and unusual, but not only unusual, but a nonsensical thing to do. And seeing as they see it as something that is nonsensical, this is a strategy to the defunding of the police. Because if they are receiving money to terrorize and murder and cause endangerment to black people's lives, no matter if they're man, woman, or child, they receive benefits. They get paid to cause terror. But defunding the police and redistributing that money into the communities that they are terrorizing, not helping, not assisting, not advancing or progressing, but like they said, stifling, then it's only right that we profit and prosper from the funds that they normally and have historically used to form weapons against us. So, when we talk about defunding the police is a marvelous plan, especially if that money is really and truly strategized to be invested into black communities, the poor communities that are being terrorized and antagonized by policemen, white ones, and yeah, some black ones too. So, there could be no contesting defund the police when you see a concept like this. And if this concept is successful and truly executed in San Francisco, it can be a basis for a widely applied concept amongst all black communities in all 50 states, and even in other countries, in other territories. Taking the money that you put into law enforcement and even military and reinvesting it into the communities that actually take a huge integral part into fueling the economy as essential workers of the United States. And, of course, the people that built the country, called the United States, economically, making sure that they are receiving the financial resources to advance their respective communities and people as a whole by receiving the money that's so oftenly gifted to law enforcement to try to control. But putting the control of that money back into the people and the communities that are suffering at the hands of an American government would be the best concept and would be the most beneficial to the people who are terrorized at the hands of law enforcement and American government the most. Now, also, I don't appreciate, and I don't ever appreciate when there's a specific objective for black people, and somewhere in that objective there has to be a clause, or there has to be an inclusion of all people, because then that defeats the purpose of the strategy, and that defeats the purpose of the intent and objective in the first place. If it's for the black community and black people, let it be for black people and the black community. It is perfectly fine to have something that's specifically for one group. Just like the country has developed amendments and laws and acts that specifically benefits one group. It's not for all people. So this country can be very hypocritical. These organizations that say that they are supporting black communities and black people can be very cowardly in the end, because they have to submit to all people. But they truly can make an impact and make a statement and show strength and courage and not coward behavior by just stating, hey, this is exclusively for black people. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no error in that. There's no discrimination or prejudice in that. There's no racism in that, because there cannot be. It would never exist. If you know the history and you know what's been done and what's continuing to be done, then you know that exclusive projects, initiatives, programs, laws, clauses, stipulations that are specifically for black people is the most righteous thing that can be done. It doesn't get rid of the immorality of this country, of white Americans. It doesn't get rid of the immorality of the white government. It doesn't redeem or gives anybody any redemption. It's just making the right decision. But in the end, we have to see, as with all companies and all announcements, where is this money truly going to go, and is it going to flow at all? Like I said, this is a great strategy to defunding the police. This is the context of defunding the police that was missing. This, if widely applied, can change the dynamics. $3.75 million, it's a start, but it's insulting, for sure, to the black people, to black people and black communities, because we spend trillions, we generate trillions of dollars, but yet when it comes to specific objectives and plans and investments into our communities and our people, we always get a number, and we always are given a crumb, literally less than 1% of the activity that we actually do on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, decade, century basis. So $3.75 million is a start. It won't really reach all black businesses, but it will help add some support to most black businesses. And that number of $3.75 million has to be paid close attention to, because the disbursement, the portions of what is going where is going to matter. And if there's any disproportionate values or figures going to one org over another org, and if it's not evenly distributed, then it won't be effective. It won't be evenly effective. So, yes, this is on the basis of cultural identity, cultural morals, values, and principles, as the mayor is standing in her identity, her morals, values, and principles. And she's standing in that creative cultural solution, and also she's standing in that sustainability, advancement, and progression, the recipe that I talk about every news segment. That is the recipe for a real shift upward. This provides us with a vertical structure and not a horizontal one. Things will not remain the same if that $3.75 million scales and increases to an appropriate number, which is more like 50 million, 100 million, 200 million. Because it's for the simple fact that that money has no problem, billions of dollars have no problem being dispersed to organizations and systems that don't benefit black people or black communities. So, this is another thing, like I said, if widely implemented in all of the poorest counties where black people and black communities are, it can have a positive effect and it can create a vertical structure. But if not effectively done and evenly distributed, it will prove to be another deception, and it will prove to be another fraudulent action and another case of a headline being grabbed, front-facing, to look great in a political light, but with no real effects and impact. And therefore, this will be another case of that exploitation that we see many companies posturing with and grabbing headlines by throwing out numbers that seem significant, but are really inappropriate and imbalanced and disproportionate in comparison to the numbers that we actually generate when we spend our money. So, let's see if this actually is deception or if this actually is execution. We shall see. But like I always say, www.inyourhood.com. What we have on the website, once you go to explore, is we have our television show and digital show streaming 24/7. The show is called Where is J. Hodge? The Journey in These Streets. We also have lectures, streaming 24/7 on the website. So you can go over there, watch live lectures, get educated, and get in the know, and learn more and take more with you than what you knew before. And then we have the true essence of Black history. So Black history that's outside of the textbook, Black history that they hit us over the head with. We have actually more figures, more stories, and more phenomenons of Black people transforming the lives of modern society today. And then we have global Black news and domestic Black news. And like I said, that's just more content, more education material, or educational material for people to learn and get more educated about our culture and our significance and how integral we are not only to the United States, but to the world. And then we have Black businesses, of course. And we forever looking for more, all industry types, all sorts. And on our social media for In Your Hood, it's at His Excellency _ J.Hodge on Instagram. In Your Hood on Facebook. If you're watching this, then you can just like and follow the page. And then on YouTube, the In Your Hood YouTube can be found under J space Hodge, H-A-J-J. So that's J Hodge. And you can subscribe. And like I said, we have a new segment launching over on our YouTube also, 10 Toes Down in Your Stomping Grounds. And that will be coming very soon. But other than that, like I said, be conscious, be aware, be conscious. Pay attention to the feds, pay attention to inflation, pay attention to the Federal Open Market Committee, pay attention to the OCC, and pay attention to your pockets and your money and what it impacts it. But like I always say, I'm going to get on y'all tomorrow.